It is another week and another episode of the Granny Panty Podcast. I'm so excited you are here. I am your host, RubyLynne. If you'd like to follow the podcast, you can hit subscribe here. You can also go to the grannypantypodcast.com. If you'd like to follow me, it's super easy. You can go to I am RubyLynne, RubyLynne.com. It's all things Ruby. That's where the good stuff happens. My guest this week, I am just so impressed. He's been in this industry as a male talent, as a camera person, as a writer. He produces some of the scenes he does, but over 40 years in one aspect or another in this industry. And I'm excited to hear today how he has evolved, not only as a male talent in this industry, but also facing some health issues that can be detrimental if you get naked for a living. So help me welcome the amazing Jay Crew. I am so excited to come face to face with someone that I discovered, and he is super handsome, and I love that he's mature. So welcome to the show, Jay. I'm so glad to have you here.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here in more ways than one.
Yeah, I love it. I have been watching you on Twitter and some of your scenes, and I was like, I need to know this person. I first heard of you, I think, from Beth McKenna. I think she may have shot with you.
Oh, yeah.
And
Beth and I have been together a couple of times, yes.
yeah, and so I was like, I need to know who this handsome gray-haired guy is. So I'm glad you're here today. I can't wait to hear your story. I
I'm
mean,
here
you've
to
been in
tell
the
a
business
story.
a long time.
Yes.
20 something years? Is it 26 years?
I've been in the industry for 40 years.
40 years. Okay.
I've been performing for, it's hard to really put a date on it because when I started when I was young, I was working behind the camera as a cameraman.
Oh, okay.
And this was in 84, 85. And that's when video on videotape, there was the boom. Like everything was now being shot on this new thing called video, where before it was all done on film. So here I am, straight out of the military as a cameraman, and I love telling the story of how did I get into the adult. Everybody has their own road that they took to get to
Right.
it. Mine was I was working for a company that rented equipment. And so I was tasked with the job to deliver and set up equipment. So as I did, I showed up, knocked on the door opens up, naked girls are walking all over the place.
Woo!
The guy looks at me and goes, "Does this bother you?" And I go, nope. Okay, set the equipment up over there and come back tomorrow to pick it up. No problem. So I do that. When I come back, he said the next pick it up. He goes, next week, same time. Okay, can do. Same thing. Knock on door opens up, naked girls all over the place. Set the equipment up over there. Okay. By the way, can you shoot camera? And
Oh,
I go, why, yes, I can. I was trained in the military as a cameraman. And that's how I got into porn.
that is amazing. And by the way, thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
You were a camera and photographer for the military. Now that in and of itself sounds interesting.
It was. I mean, we would do things such as commander calls. We would do how-to videos like, how to use a screwdriver, how to install a toilet, stuff like it
Gotcha.
was, yeah. And if there was an accident or something that happened, we would be
Mhm.
called to go to it and document it for the military. So that was kind of it. It was fun.
That
But
is
I,
awesome.
I knew
And
I
I
needed to get out because it was, you know,
A
not
good
where I
stepping
saw
stone.
myself staying for 20 years.
Right, right.
So,
And to be trained and come out and use those skills is amazing too, because I know a lot of
oh,
times
yeah,
that doesn't happen.
exactly. So, yeah, I was very
So,
thankful that I got that official training in the military.
that is amazing. So you started running camera for some porn sites?
For one gentleman in particular, because I lived in Arizona, which all the adult was being shot in California. It was just this one guy like doing his stuff there in Phoenix. And about I would say 2 or 3 shoots into it, he goes, "You think you'd want to be in front of the camera?" And I go, "I just got into a relationship. I don't, let's." As time went on, as it always does, I'm sitting there shooting some guy, and it's just not happening. And the director looked at me and goes, "You want to go give it a whirl?" And I said, "Sure." So for the next 7 years,
Oh,
I was a stunt cock.
I love it.
So nobody saw my face. All they ever saw was my
Mhm,
cock. I would
mhm.
then, the whoever was struggling, they would just do all the soft core positions,
Yep.
and then I would go in and they would insert me into all the hardcore positions. So
Literally
yeah.
speaking.
So I today I still have guys who like I'll go to a show or something like that,
Mhm.
and this one particular gentleman, it was very obvious he's Latino. I'm as white as you can be.
Right.
I had to work with this one girl because he couldn't, and this was 20, maybe 25 years ago. And he'll still tell the story that the scene that he did with this girl that I filled in was up for an award.
Oh.
And he goes, and he's the one who made me, the star I am, So it was kind of funny.
That
But,
is kinda cool.
people don't really care. Wait a second. That's not a Latino cock going in there. They didn't care. It was a beautiful
They're so
girl that,
worked up by that point that it doesn't matter.
exactly.
I'm
So,
surprised, I've had a few male stars on that got their start by being in some other position on the set and being
mhm.
offered that, "Come in, we need this shot now."
It's a lot easier and harder now than it was back
Right.
then. And what I mean about that is in the 80s up until mid mid to early 90s, there was no testing.
Gotcha.
So virtually
Right.
anybody can do whatever. It's funny, girls would walk in, and what I loved about the 80s, girls were so horny during that time. They would walk in and they didn't know who they're going to have sex with. They're just looking, going, "Ooh, you? No, I'm camera. You? That type of a deal." And that's why when a stunt was needed, there was never an issue. Everybody wants to collect, check, go home. And so, sure, okay, send them on in, and there you go. Um, Today, you have the ability with websites and
Yeah.
all the different social platforms that you could be on, that you could sell your likeness and your content to, that makes it where people can start off somewhere else and then
Yes.
transition into, but
Yes.
have to test.
Right, right. Yeah, and not everybody's tested every single day or week or, on a schedule.
Yeah.
So that does make it harder to jump in and the at the hot last moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, can you jump in? My test is 24 hours too old. Ah, sorry, you can't test.
Right, right, right.
Okay. So, yeah.
So once you got in front of that camera, you stayed there, right?
I stayed on both sides. That's what I've thoroughly enjoyed being on both aspects of the camera. I
Mhm,
love putting imageries together. I enjoy being the eyes of the person watching,
mhm.
because if I like what I see, and how I'm showing it to you. Hopefully, you too are enjoying what I'm watching because I'm virtually right there next to it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if I hear something, see something, I show something, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like a little dance, as I always refer to it when you're shooting sex. You have to move with everybody to be
Yeah.
able to entertain everyone. So, and then with being a performer, knowing what it is that the eyes or the people want to see always
Right.
allows you to, in a very natural way, open where it doesn't
Yep.
look so staged,
Right.
so that everybody can see what it is that you're doing. And
Yes.
so I'll get other camera operators, editors, and all like that who will reach out to me and say, "Thank you for what you did. You made
Mhm.
my job easy." Where some other guys are just, as
Right.
operators or editors or something like that, struggling to get to see something because you got too many guys. I hate saying or singling out the young guys, but the young guys think, it's all about how hard you can go.
Right. 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 Are you still doing behind the camera work now
Yes,
or
yes,
oh, you are? Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
For
And
years, I've shot with every big company there ever has been.
mhm.
Okay, and currently I've been shooting for Team Skeet. It's the latest
Okay.
large company. I was working with Brazzers and Reality King. But that's another story for another day on what happened
Yeah.
with that. And then I'm currently working with a company that's called Jeff's Models that works
Nice.
with predominantly BBW women.
Awesome. Awesome. And I mentioned before we went live, there are so many sites that I'm every time I have a guest on, I think I learn about more sites, different studios. There's a lot out there.
Yes, yes, there is. There's
Yes.
probably uh, to show you back when I started in the '80s, when film was the king of the porn world, and there was, the big cinematics that were being made, they would only do between 12 to 15 features a year.
Wow.
That was it.
Yeah.
When video came out, they started, I mean, it was like out the gate. They were doing 200 movies a month.
Wow.
So to go from those extremes. Now, between film features, there was the what they would call the loops, the 16 or the
Gotcha.
8 millimeter
Mhm.
loops, Gonzo, whatever you want to call it. That always happened. But to translate from 15 features to 200,
Right.
so it saturated real fast. But the consumer just was, we want more, more, more. So
Yeah.
that's how it exploded until the advent of the internet. So
Yeah, for sure.
which
For sure.
changed everything, and then now we're streaming and whatnot, and it then also has changed how things are
Yes.
done.
For sure. So one of the questions, talk to me about aging as a male talent in this industry. How has that evolved for you as you get older? Because I know for me, I came into this older. So I don't really have any experience about evolving, but I know some of the challenges as a female
Mm-hmm.
aging in this industry. So talk to us about from the male perspective since you've been in this industry so long.
Well, the one thing about the men, it has always been, it was never really exclusively a young man's game. In the 70s and 80s, there were mature men back then,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
they had the acting ability, they had the performance abilities and stuff, so that carried them through the '80s into the '90s and whatnot. It was always about the young girl And so, the one's fresh off the bus type of a deal.
Right.
So that's why the next young thing was always replacing the previous young thing. And so that's why in the female world, you get in at 18 legally to 24, unless you were a megastar or something like that, you can get past 24 ish. Into,
Yeah.
very rare did you find somebody in their 30s and on up, because they were constantly being replaced. Men, it wasn't about that. It was, if you were hard and you can perform, all we want to see is that young girl get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we progress to where we are right now, where we have all these genres that are available, and so
Uh-huh.
younger, older, milfs, which was very beneficial for women that this category came up. So all of a sudden now they are in need of the 30 plus,
Right.
because the 18 to 24 couldn't fit that niche.
Right.
So the transition out of one just led you into another. So you have longevity now, where in the
Mhm.
past it was make what you can. By the time you're 24, you're working in some office someplace.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So with back to the male, which was the question, is that for myself, the older younger has been the niche that I was put into, which I really don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
That I embrace the whole grandfather. He's not my grandpa. I'm fine with that, because I am one over many times.
Same.
Yeah. Oh, I got 12,
Number 10 is due next month for me. Number 10 grandbaby.
and out of that I have 3 that are greats.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you got me beat. You got me
I
beat.
got you. I got most people beat on that one.
You do. You do.
So that's how it again. It's been easier for the males you know to keep going. It's not an issue
Right.
for them.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's understandable. And I know like my niche is definitely stepmom, that kind of thing. And so I'm sure that you're the stepdad, the uncle,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yep.
I love it. Yeah, for a long time when I got in the industry, I'd say probably the first year and a half, I fought that. I'm like, no, not doing any stepmom stuff. No, no, no. Because I am a real stepmom. And then
Mm-hmm.
I said one day, I'm leaving a lot of cash on the table by not leaning into this because it's kind of like this is what my fans want. And so I just leaned into it and it's went crazy and been a lot of fun actually.
No, I agree with you. It was on the moral side of who you are. You would never do
Oh,
that,
right.
you
Yeah,
know.
never.
And it's like, okay, but I have to use my experience, because I too was a stepfather. I was raised in a
Yeah.
step family type of a deal. So you just draw from your experiences, and turn it into the fantasy that somebody wants to see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's purely for the cash I was missing out on for sure.
Yeah,
So that brings me to a question we're kind of speaking of leaning into, you faced a health challenge in the past few years, and you kind of shared that a little bit with me earlier. I'd like to kind of delve into that more about how that's affected your career and the solutions you've come up with to deal with it. If
sure.
you don't mind speaking to
No,
that,
no
I
problem.
think.
It's it's a topic that I do like to share, because it was something that was a surprise to me,
Mhm.
that I because I felt nothing, knew nothing. I was just struggling along like most of us will.
Mhm.
If you're not somebody who is always in need of going to the doctor and stuff like that, you could tough guy it through anything. And that's how I was. I've never had an issue with anything health wise. But fortunately for me, I did spend some time in the military, And then I had to, I reached out and got into the VA group. And
Mhm.
so, and that started like when I was 55. I said, "Hey, let's just check this VA out. Let's just get a handle on my health if needed."
Mhm.
And I have to say that if it wasn't for the VA, I may not be here today. And why I say that is just you get that little notice, come in, we need to do some blood work and
Mhm.
urine. Okay, you go in, and I get this message from the doctor and said, we'd like to have you come back in for some more tests. Nobody ever likes to hear that, but I'm going,
No.
okay. We went in, and he explained that my PSA levels had risen a little bit, and so they'd
Mhm.
like to check it out. I said, I have no
Mhm.
idea what you're talking about, and it's about your prostate. And I go, oh, okay, I've
Right.
no signs, no this, that, and the other. Uh, so the next step was, I went in for an MRI, which was an experience.
Oh,
If you
yes.
if you've never done one, it's definitely one of those. Wow, that was intense. Um, And then once those results came back, the doctor spoke to me. We see some spots. We need to go in and check on them. I go, okay, I'm in your hands.
Right.
Went in for the biopsies, which was a lot of fun. And
Not.
I joked through the whole thing. The doctor couldn't believe I was
Oh.
being humorous while he was zapping my prostate through my butt.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, okay. Anyway, that came back, and it came back conclusive that I did have
Oh.
prostate cancer. Now they said there's two orbs of it, and on one
Mhm.
side it was the non-aggressive uh, cancer, which means
Strain.
every male's going to have it. It's just something it'll take until 60 to 85 before it'll ever do anything to you. But
Okay.
on the other side, I had an area which was on the aggressive side. And on
Okay.
the aggressive side, it was on the low end of aggressive. And I go, okay, there's high end aggressive, low end. I go, doesn't sound good, but they go,
Right.
what we'd like to do is um, treatment is either, radiation and chemo and all like that, but that's something that we would advise you not to do because it would limit your options if, in fact, it were to come back later on in your life. Since I'm already old enough not to have kids anymore,
Mhm.
my wife and I, elected to say, let's go with the removal.
Okay.
And did that. I've never, Ruby, I've never given myself up in such a way that I did the day that I went in for surgery. My wife's a nurse, and she says there are people who just fight the help that's trying to be provided to them. And I went in there and I just gave myself up. I mean, I literally just went limp and said, I do what you need to do. And it was, they were amazing. Okay. And I'm very blessed that I dealt with them and that it was successful. And then I was now on to the recovery part of it.
I'm glad it was successful too. And are you cancer free at this point? Your screenings and
Yes.
everything?
I've now
Ah,
gone
good
through,
deal.
since surgery, I've now gone through three screenings, and I am showing zero as far as
That's
the
amazing.
PSA goes. Yes.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yes.
That is good. That is
But,
good.
but it's part of the recovery.
Mhm.
I have found that it's different for every male because
Mhm.
we're not all, how do I say, not all of us have the same career. Uh,
Right. I was gonna say, how has this affected, you know,
I was
your career?
the let me just back step a little bit while I in the diagnosing of my my wife goes, "Hey, you need to tell them what it is that you do for a living."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I told them, and they go, "Oh, you're in front of a camera. Well, we need to take special care of your nerves because a lot of times they they won't take as the same amount of care as they were referring to because a lot of guys of that age meaning I don't put myself in there. Most men who come in for this, they're in their
Mhm.
late 70s, early 80s.
Wow.
They're not they're not jerking off anymore. So to have the orgasm, it's no, you know. But since you're wanting to continue in the work, they go, "Oh, we'll take care of those. We'll make sure each one of those little nerve endings are, is pristine as possible," which they did.
That is awesome.
It was 6 weeks after surgery. I had to notify my urologist. I go, "Hey, I got a Woody today," and he goes, "Really?" And I go, "Oh yeah," and he goes, "Well, okay, men your age after surgery, that usually doesn't happen until like 9 months up to 18
Wow.
months after surgery."
You
And
had good
I'm
muscle memory.
so here I'm at 5 weeks, and I
Mhm.
go, and I kind of played with it. And he goes, and I go, well, I had a little, and I describe it because this is how you women always describe it. You women always go, honey, it's okay. I had a little O. It's no problem. I'll take care of it myself. Tell me you haven't said that. Okay, so you women can have from a little O to a big O. Okay, us men are usually more like this. It's the same orgasm intensity wise. It never really goes way over the top or really goes way under. It's there. So I said to him, I had this little, it's just that you felt this tingle. And he goes, wow, that's not supposed to happen. Men your age, this
Don't you
really
love that?
shouldn't.
Men your age.
I know he kept using that term, men your age. And I go, okay, anyhow. So as time was going on, it was 8 weeks after surgery. Okay. I was invited to be a part of the Team Skeet feature, which they wanted me as a non-sex performer
Mhm.
throughout it, and then they were going to have this orgy at the end. The director, who's a friend of mine, goes, "Do you think you want to partake in the orgy?" I go, "Yeah." So I went in there. It was really cool, and I was able to. And I 8 weeks after surgery, I actually did better than some of the guys who were performing in the movie.
Wow.
And so I told my doctors that, and they got, okay, we can't explain that. You're just a freak or something like that. And so I'm going, yeah, me good.
You're a medical miracle.
Yes. Until it was probably 3 months after surgery. It was in
Mhm.
November last year. I'm doing a scene with a beautiful young lady and all like that, and he just fizzled out.
Mhm.
I'm going, sorry, just give me a moment. I kept working back up, trying to. So it was one of these things that I was not accustomed of doing. Is you know, petering out, losing
Right.
energy, losing
Right.
stamina, type, or even at the point started to think I was losing interest. It was so
Right.
weird. Okay, maybe it's a fluke because I did so good before. The
Mhm.
more scenes I was doing after that, I kept nosediving
Okay.
to the point where I'm stressing out. Okay.
Sure.
I've always said I would be in this industry as long as I was having
Mhm.
fun,
Right.
and I've had fun for 40 years. last year at that time, I was struggling. Okay. So I put myself on a little hiatus.
Mhm.
I'll come back as soon as you're ready to come back. We need you. We need you for this scene, these scenes, and all like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Once I'm back together. And as I said to you earlier, I always felt as a performer, I was always giving that 110%.
Sure.
And the doctor said, you should be able to recover and be anywhere between 80 to 90% of what you once were. Okay, that's pretty good. Until I realized that my 110 versus now the 80
Mhm.
is not the same to me.
Right.
And there lies the issue that I'm now having. It's no longer a physical issue, it's more
Mhm.
of a mental issue. How
Mhm.
do I how do I be the 65-year-old now that I'm a recovering 66-year-old? And that's where I'm working through these issues right now, trying to
Gotcha.
understand I got to be a new person. I can't be the old Jay of 65. I have to be the new Jay
Right.
Crew at
Right.
66. So it's I can just say to you guys out there, if you're having issues, I understand it. Okay, it is the majority of what I'm dealing with, which is stress related, is all
Mhm.
mental, and that I just have to find calmness in my own head in order to be satisfied with whatever I'm able to perform with.
Right. And it's like coming from the social work world as well and dealing with anxiety and that kind of thing. The more you panic, the more you panic. And
Mm-hmm.
it just keeps building and I can't imagine, how that felt to you.
And I
But
went to my doctor and I said,
Mhm.
this is what's going on and all like that. My doctor had to set me down and go, you have to understand something. What you went through, because there was other
Mhm.
backstory stuff that happened in my
Sure.
life during that time frame, which I may have not been thinking about it at the time, but is now reality was setting in.
Sure.
She goes, all of that is now present inside your head. And now your
Mhm.
body and your mind are kind of like together. And all that stress that's in there is causing a chemical reaction in you,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
keeping you from being able to achieve an erection.
Mhm.
You could take as much Viagra as you want. You could inject as many times as you want.
Mhm.
You're already producing the chemical that cancels everything out because you're stressed. Wow. Okay. I was wondering why I'm popping these pills, which is never
Sure.
any good. I'm, raising the dose up and shooting your dick. It's
Mhm.
never fun, you know.
No.
And I'm looking at it going, I I I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry, folks. Call somebody else in, and then that just fed into the.
Oh, yeah. That's that downward spiral. The
Yeah,
mind is a powerful thing.
it is, and that's why I've taken almost a year off. I've
Mhm.
okay. I will admit I did try. I tried again in June, and I was pretty pleased with myself until self got a little too excited
Yeah, yeah.
and was, it was the last minute and a half of this content that I was doing, which figured let's do content. I don't have to worry about paying people or people paying me. Get that little stress off. This is just having
Do a trade
fun.
shoot. Yeah.
I went a little too far out, came in a little too quick, and
Yeah.
broke them. Had a doctor's appointment the next day, and he goes, "Yep, you're not going to be able to use that for at least 6 to 8 weeks."
Oh my gosh.
So now I'm dealing with a bent dick that I'm trying to recover and recoup from.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at him going, not only is he not 100%, 110% of what he once was, now his 80 to 90% is slightly bent. And so once again, it's in the head.
Right, right, right. It's a
So
lot
I
to
need
deal with.
it, it's really
It's a lot to deal with,
it is.
especially in this industry. I mean, because we are so vulnerable. We're naked on camera. We're having to
Mm-hmm.
perform. And
Exactly.
it just doesn't get any more raw and real than that.
Exactly.
I mean, just doesn't. That's a very vulnerable, but here you are. You're still performing though. You're still shooting for studios and you're working
Mm-hmm.
your way through it.
Yes.
And I think that's amazing. I think you are a role model for men in this industry. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. If anything, I want to be a voice for men to know what they're potentially going to have to deal with later on in their as they're getting older. Okay,
Yeah.
because
And that's
there's
what I
not
love.
very many guys over the age of 55 in our industry. Okay, there's a handful, and there's even a smaller handful that are over 60. So,
Yeah. Well, I was shocked when I read your age. I told you that earlier. I thought you were mid 50s. I thought you were my age.
ah, it's so sweet.
I'm kind of excited like to shoot with you because for once I can be like the younger.
Oh yeah,
Maybe I can be the step.
I know
But
the little scenarios we could come up with. That's not a problem. You know,
I know my
you could
mind's kind of going crazy now.
yeah, you could be my my son's wife, and you guys are having some some issues, and and you're just looking for some guidance, and
I love
I
it.
just will guide you right down between my legs, and
I can't wait. I can't wait. So
I like being that type of character.
I love it. Well, thank you for being, telling your story and being vulnerable about that.
No problem.
I think that you will help a lot of people. Our listeners will definitely appreciate that. What projects do you have going now? Let's talk about what's coming up. Do you have any big scenes coming up for
Yes.
2024?
Well, right now I'm trying to, as you know, trying to organize a content scene. I'm trying to organize a Christmas themed BBW Christmas.
That's amazing.
So I want to play Santa, and I'm going to have Mrs. Claus, who's a BBW, and we're going to
Love
have
it.
four, up to four BBW elves and two male elf helpers,
I love it.
and the idea is that you know the toys they're making aren't big enough, or somebody threw that idea out. We got to do something to change something, and and one thing leads to another, and then Santa and the elves with the helpers. It's just one big, orgy.
That's
So
amazing. That sounds awesome. And
I'm trying to get that done by the first week of December, so everybody could have it to release for Christmas.
and will this be more of a content trade or are you shooting this for a studio?
This is for a studio where they will give the edited scene, and I'm gonna do little 10 to 15 minute Santa clips of each one of the girls, so that they use for promotional as well, and give it to them. So it'll be edited in time before the holidays.
That's great. Oh, that sounds like a
That's what
lot
I'm
of fun.
trying to do.
That will be a lot of fun. That's exciting. And then any travel coming up for you? Do you do any of the conventions, anything like that?
It's difficult for me to do the conventions. I like doing the Vegas AVN.
Yeah.
That way, I get to see people I haven't seen in a long time. Do the little networking. But honestly, Ruby, right now, the only time I get to see people that I knew in the past was in one of two ways: seeing them at the AVN show or
Mm-hmm.
seeing them at a memorial.
Oh, yeah, I know. I hear you. As we get older, it seems like there's a lot more funerals.
Yeah, we lost a good friend of mine,
Mhm.
a legend in the adult industry. He started in the '70s. His name was Herschel Savage. Um,
Yes.
I went to his memorial 2 weeks ago and got to see some people
Mhm.
I haven't seen in easily 10 years, which it's
Mhm.
sad.
It
You know,
is.
the only way we get to see each other is either at a show
Yeah.
or at a memorial.
Yes. Well, I that was certainly a huge loss for the industry. But all right, as we wrap up, where can people find your work? Do you have an
Oh,
OnlyFans? Where
yeah,
can they find you?
I got your typical OnlyFans. I got your mini vids. I got your whatever. So yeah, my OnlyFans is at J Crew 57. Because as you said, you're 57. I represent the year 1957. So
Woohoo!
yeah, got
I
to be
love it.
proud. And there you can find all the other links. So, but I'm on Twitter. I like to help promote people that I know that I've been with. Just I'll throw a few things out there saying hey or whatever, but it's mostly I like to help others get their fan base up. Just
That's amazing. That is amazing.
I like staying
Well,
in touch with people that way. So
mhm.
as I
I think
reached
you should
out to
write a
you,
book. I think your next thing is to write a book.
I've been asked to do that many times. The one thing about me trying to write a book is dates and names.
Yeah.
You know, it's got, oh yeah, I knew that happened somewhere in the '80s, and because I do have stories. I have amazing stories of what has happened to me in my life that people are going, wow, that's cool. You know,
That
so
is
maybe
cool.
maybe one of these days I could.
I love it. Wow. I'll buy a copy the minute it comes out.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your story. I am excited to hopefully see you in January. I'll be
Hmm.
in LA for X3, so hopefully we can find time to
Oh yeah,
meet
one
and
way
see
or
each
the other.
other.
Yeah, perfect.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, and I can't wait to see more.
Oh, I can't wait to see more too. I've been trying to peek over the sea down there and see if I can see a little something, something.
There you go.